All right, we're live now. So, um, there's nobody watching yet. Should I just wait for people to come in, or should we just like start talking about stuff?
Well, we can get a little bit of ball rolling.
Okay.
I heard you talking the other day, and you had said you even saw like the movie Troll and Troll 2.
Yeah, I did see those.
How did you find that? Like, is it because of the meme everybody's seen with the guy screaming?
No, I saw those when I was a little kid. Like they would play those
Ah,
on Showtime all the time. And when I
true.
was a little kid, like we had Showtime, we had Cinemax, we had Stars, HBO. Like we had like every channel, and me and my brother we'd stay up late and we'd like watch horror movies all the time. And Trolls would come on a lot, one and two. That was something we'd watch a lot.
Was your brother older or younger?
My brother's older, but like only by like a year or two, like or a year and a
Well,
half, pretty much.
there's something I can start with. See, my sister's about 5 years older than me,
Hmm.
and she she would play. She went to high school in the late '80s, so she got to see like some of the early Friday the 13th in the theater. But we were VHS like kids, so
Yeah.
she would rent the movies, go watch them in the dark in our house, and I would sneak in the back and start watching them. It was scared the hell out of me, but like most people would say, like that's what got me into it. Like you get scared and you get that feeling and you can't get rid of it. It's almost druggish where you're like, oh, and you want to be spooked. So that's why and Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the ones that got me and I never looked back where it's like, oh, I didn't. So thanks to her I got introduced to it. So but like you must like I assume with you like something like Scream was pretty big for you, huh?
Yeah, that actually was, and I grew up on the VHSs too. Like, I'm from like, I was a kid in the '90s and stuff, and we had videotapes. Like, we didn't have DVDs back then. And
Hmm.
it was like Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger and Chucky. Like, those were like the main dudes when I was a kid. Like for horror, that's what everybody loved. And yeah, I think Chucky was probably my favorite back then, and he still is really iconic. I don't know about the new one. I haven't seen it. It looked kind of weird to me.
That's one of the two big questions is your favorite horror franchise. And with Chucky, I can tell you one thing, they had the new movie which it's animatronic doll, like
Yeah.
he's a computer, but they're coming out with a TV show as well, which I think is supposed to be in line with the movie, like the movie timeline. But the last movie that they put out, and I think it was only like on demand, they brought back like the little kid from the first movie came back, and it was like actors from the first couple movies came back, but I think it only aired on like Netflix, and so
Oh, that
you
was
have
Cult or something, wasn't it? Was
no, it
that
was
it?
after Cult and
Oh.
Seed,
Oh,
like.
okay. What was
And
that
from
one
what
called?
there's a rumor Jennifer Tilly's coming back for the TV show. I say TV show, I mean like Netflix. I don't think not
Tell
like
you
the
the truth,
USA Network.
the last good Chucky, in my opinion, was The Bride. Like, I feel like that was like the last good one that I actually liked. The
Yeah,
last few have just been like really horrible to me, and they don't feel like Chucky movies. Like, I guess the
yeah.
director he likes to go for something that's way different every time, but it just doesn't feel like Chucky to me. And then that new one with Mark Hamill, is that who's in it? Mark
He's
Hamill
the
is,
voice.
yeah,
He's the
he's
voice.
the new Chucky. Like, I don't know about that either. Like, that's kind of weird to me. Um,
I haven't caught the new one. I'm gonna watch it when I can
I'm
on
gonna
demand
watch
it.
it probably. Yeah, when it's free. Like, I'm gonna watch it for free, but I don't want to spend money on it. Um,
Now,
yeah.
fun fact, I'm sure you probably know, and me and on our channel we're gonna do a we do one of the podcasts is gonna be there's a lot of actors who started out in horror movies as their first movie.
Mhm.
Like Kevin Bacon's in the original Friday the 13th, but I don't know if you know by name Katherine Hagel,
Oh
tall
yeah,
blonde.
yeah, I
She
know who
was
that is.
in one of the Chucky movies. One
Yeah,
and
she's in the Bride.
that's
Yeah.
Brian, yeah, and John Ritter was in that one, R.I.P. But just that's a fun fact. Like you wouldn't be surprised. Like Meg Ryan was in Amityville Horror 3, and
Oh,
even
3D.
Henry
That was the
Cavill,
worst one. It
yeah,
was so
yeah,
bad.
Henry Cavill, the new Superman, is in a Hellraiser, one of the Hellraisers, one of the last ones. So
I
you'd
haven't
be
seen all those.
surprised. No, you don't. You don't really need to. Like,
I only like the first three to tell you the truth. The third one was way
yeah.
different than the other two, but I feel like if you see one, you got to see two. Three's just kind of fun and silly, but four it went
Mm.
downhill from there. I just kind of stopped at maybe four or five. It was getting too dumb.
Hellraiser is my personal favorite
Yeah,
franchise
it's good.
because the difference for me is it's not a slasher, it's not a crazed killer, it's literally demons.
Yeah,
Like it's a different world. The problem is with that franchise, they just kept putting scripts out. Like the last one, it came on Netflix and it was decent called Judgment, but it was mostly about two detectives and their story, and then they added Pinhead in later. And it's like
yeah,
they did that a
yeah.
lot with a
I
lot.
didn't. The first one, it was like straight got into like action and stuff and like the monsters, and it was like it was so creepy and eerie how you got this guy, he's nothing, and then all of a sudden he starts forming more like that. It's so
Oh,
spooky how they did that.
the
I
skinless people.
Yeah, the skinless guy, and he just kept eating people and like that. That was so creepy to me. Um,
And
I think that one's probably the scariest one.
yeah, well, let's see. Did you see the 2018 Halloween?
I liked that one. Yeah, I did see that where they put him in the basement. Is that the one?
Yeah,
I thought it was good. It was kind of scary. I thought it was
yeah.
good.
I'm glad that it's so much better than the seven that came before that one.
Yeah,
Like
there's been a
they
lot of garbage Halloween movies too.
and now you're gonna have Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends coming up in the next Halloween, I believe. And they brought back like some of the and if you go back to the 79 Halloween, there's a little girl, Lindsay. They brought that girl back. So was that a sneeze?
No, it was like a
Oh,
cough. It was like
I was gonna say bless you, but okay. So yeah, if you like that one and be prepared, you got the uh the next two coming out, and I think back to back years. So they're filming it in South Carolina right now. Matter of fact,
oh, the
um,
Halloween.
yeah, they're making it's
He's
north.
got to come back. Like, there's no way he died.
Well, at the end of the movie, they have him breathing, like
Yeah,
so. And there's no as long as the movie makes money, they'll never kill it.
exactly.
So
Yeah, I
let's
thought it was
see.
good though for a new one, a
No,
remake. I
yeah,
thought I liked it. Because a lot of I don't like when they do the in space. You remember they did Friday the 13th in space, Leprechaun in space, Hellraiser. There's one of
everybody.
those in space. Like those are always the
Yep.
worst. Like just don't put them in space. Like it's not even scary. We're not in space.
No,
Like they should be on
that
Earth. Like that's where everybody is.
space space is literally when somebody runs out of ideas.
Those
And I made a joke when I reviewed the Fast and the Furious trailer. I say at the end they're gonna put the cars on the space shuttle and go to space soon, just like every other movie, because that's the only place you can end up. So just a little fun joke. Um, let's see. How about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
that was like when I was a kid. Leatherface was like the creepiest. Like I just thought he was so scary. I liked the '80s ones. I didn't like the original one. I think
It's
I like
boring,
those.
man.
I think I like those because they were like kind of funny even. and I
Yeah,
like kind of the southern like cowboy. I've like been around people like my whole life and stuff, so it's like I kind of like the Texan stuff. Um, I just liked it. And Joe Bob Briggs, wasn't he in one of those?
yeah,
Yeah,
I believe
or I
so.
think they
Yeah,
or did they cut out his scene or something? Like they did
he
something, they
did.
screwed him over.
Yeah, he filmed something, and I don't. I think it's a deleted scene because that poor franchise. The original was like in the 1970, 69, 70. It's hard to get through. It's a little boring, but it's cool because that is nobody is supernatural. It's a crazy cannibal family.
Yeah, just like a bunch of weirdos.
Then two goes way off. It's strictly a comedy. Same people though. Then fun fact again, I think it's the one Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation. Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger are the stars.
Yeah,
It's
that's one
amazing.
I watched that one like a bunch when I was a kid. We'd always watch that one because it was like funny and like
Yeah.
silly. Like that one was good. Um,
It,
I do like the what was it? It was the one from the '80s and it had Bill Moseley in it, and he was like the brother. What was that character's name? The one that would always like pick at
oh,
his
you're
head.
talking about that's two, and he would burn the hanger to get he had a
Yeah.
metal plate in his head. That's my favorite out of that whole one because it's so different. Dennis Hopper's in it, and they have a duel with the
Oh yeah.
chainsaws, and um, the girl Slim in that movie. For anybody, she's in like The Stepfather, which is another horror movie. I believe she's in Rob Zombie's Halloween, but we don't like to talk about that trash, that crazy stuff. He ruined it. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah, I didn't like those. I like
he,
when he does his own movies. He should just stick to his own stuff. Like there's, House of a Thousand Corpses, all that. Like that was like fine for what
yeah,
it was.
that
You
was
know.
great. He made his own universe where, those characters kept going on. He had Captain Spaulding the clown. So, but
It
then he
it
makes
seemed,
everything redneck, and it's like, oh,
but it seemed like really inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like
okay.
it seemed like it was really inspired by that family. But I guess he grew up with those kind of movies, so that's probably why made him like that. But I didn't
Yeah,
like
if
the
you
Halloween.
no, nobody really cared for what he did with it. I know you want to make it your own, but it's all about like how can I put my wife sexy in it, and it's like okay,
Yeah,
like
it's too iconic though. He shouldn't be messing it up like that.
yeah, especially the second one, like, but the story goes that somebody else was going to write it, and he said no, and he went back, wrote the second one, which goes so far off the rails. But he did do one thing. One of my favorite actresses is Danielle Harris, who's in that. She was in Halloween 4, if you know who I'm
hmm
talking about. Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like I don't know. The
if you
name sounds
saw her,
familiar. I
yeah,
probably know who it is.
if you saw her, you'd know. But he put her in those movies, and she was in, like I said, Halloween 4 and 5. But other than that, he went so far with it. Like he put a horse in it. I don't know what to do with that guy. Um, you had mentioned Leprechaun. How many of those have you checked out?
Mm, I don't remember the first one and Leprechaun on the Hood. Those are like the two, and I liked I liked Leprechaun on the Hood for some reason. Like that was like my favorite because it was just like
Yeah,
it was hilarious. He's like smoking weed with the leprechaun. Like it's just so funny, but it wasn't scary. It was just for fun.
no. I will say they did another one about a year or two ago, and once again, in the first movie, Jennifer Aniston makes it is one of her first movies.
hmm
In the
Oh,
the
that's
one they made,
right.
go ahead.
Oh, so
Oh,
that's right.
in the one they made like a year or two ago, a girl plays her daughter. So they bring it back full circle, which they're seeming to do in most of them. Where
Does it have Warwick Davis in it, or is he even involved in it? Or
no, I don't think he is the Leprechaun anymore, and that might be because he went back to do the last Star Wars movies. So I think he was
oh,
busy.
well, they're doing like a Willow thing too. I wonder if he's gonna be doing that.
I heard that, and Willow is one of my favorite movies, and
It's so good. They're
it
probably gonna
yeah,
ruin it, probably, huh?
that's my thing. Like, there's talk of He-Man. They're doing He-Man again, and I hope they don't blow that. But
A lot of the
well,
remakes are not good.
speaking of that, next on the list, the Evil Dead series.
Oh, Evil Dead. Yeah, Evil Dead 2 is my favorite on that one. I liked
Good
it
call.
better. I liked it better than the first one. I liked it better than Army of Darkness. I just like that one best. Um,
Definitely. They made it too comical by the third one.
the series I
And
don't like at all. I've tried to give it a try. I didn't like that.
I
I don't
did
know.
about the first season and a half, and then it went off the rails, or it actually kept repeating too much, and you can't do that these days. But you got to give credit with the first one. You had Sam Raimi pretty much doing it out of pocket, and it's just friends doing it. And then by the second one, they're like, let's do it a little better. And then Sam Raimi went on to do the Spider-Man movies from the 2000s. So credit where credit is due. But Ash is popular enough where everybody knows him with the chainsaw for his hand. And then
Hmm.
there's a comic book, Ash versus Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, it's like just a
Oh
comic book.
well.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
fun because we do comics on our side. Um, now this actually started because you mentioned Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, Return of yeah. They
Now
did
that
Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2, right? Like there's two of those, which
there's
was very odd because some of the characters that died in the first one were in the second one. I thought, but
you
it's funny though.
you nailed it on the head. I'm so glad you impressed me with that because yeah, Return of the Living Dead 1 and then 2, the two main guys return different names. They're not supposed to be the same characters. Then they ran that one into the ground, Rave to the Grave, and I didn't see those, but um, in the video where we talk about it, one, most people might not know that that's where you get brain eating zombies.
Oh
Like
yeah,
in the lexicon, people say, "Oh, brains," but they don't realize that that's the only movie set of zombies where they actually eat brains. Everything else is a flesh eating zombie.
yeah.
But
That's where
brain.
I think I learned that from your video because I didn't even realize that came from that movie either. I didn't have a
Eh?
clue.
Well, I'm glad you watched it, and that's why we do it because it's fun to look back. And then we did a podcast on the mortician in that movie is an actual Nazi. Uh, It sounds
Oh,
weird, but yeah,
but
there's a
didn't he pass away or something? I don't know. I thought he
yeah,
passed away.
that's who
I
played
watched
Weekend at Bernie's.
I watched a whole documentary about Return of the Living Dead. Have you ever seen that? Where they had all the
I
actors and they're older now and they're like it
Yeah,
was
that
pretty
was
good.
I believe they did that in 2011, and
Yeah,
amazing
it was
to
good.
talk. Yeah, but if anybody wants to go back, the mortician in the movie he carries a pistol on his side, which is a Luger, which is what the Nazi used, but he has a picture of Ava Brown on the wall,
Yeah,
which is
bleached hair and stuff. Yeah.
and he bleached his hair blonde. And they never talk about it directly, but that's since we've seen it a million times, that's what we noticed. But now in that movie, you have the girl who gets naked in the cemetery, right?
Like trash.
That's trash. Very good. That's Linnea Quigley, and she still does the horror circuit, but she was in a couple other movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night, but one in particular was Night of the Demons. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I have seen that one. That one's like a classic too. I've only seen the
Night.
first one though. I think there's sequels. I only saw the first
Oh,
one.
there is a
Uh,
terrible sequel to the movie where Angela comes back, and it's the same actress, and then they remade it with Shannon Elizabeth like in 2010, and it's terrible. I don't recommend that to anyone.
First is
But
the best. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to see that in I think it's 1988, and I might have been a little too young to see it, but it was so different to what the typical slashers coming out. So I'm glad like people like need to see that one if they want to see any one of them. So, but yeah, that there's so many zombie movies. I often suggest that one because one, they run. You don't get many sprinting zombies, and
Oh yeah, that's right. They're
it's
not stiff.
scary. It's scary as hell, and they talk. They talk to them, and they bring the half the
Yeah.
the skeleton
The
woman
pain.
zombie,
The
and
pain.
they ask her why they eat brains, and she says because it hurts to be dead. And those little points make it really scary to me. Like they went out of their way, and you cannot kill those zombies. They
My
literally hit him in the head and say it worked in the movies, and they address that it doesn't work.
I think my favorite character in that whole movie was the old guy who like burned himself. He was like, I was like, he's a good guy, and then he like made everybody into zombies. It's like he kind of screwed everybody over, but he was trying to do the right thing. Like that was kind of one of my favorite parts, just because
See
it just seemed like he was a nice guy, but no, dude, you're not helping. Like,
that's why I'm talking to you. I knew you would pick out these good things. He puts his wedding ring on the incinerator button and pulls himself into the crematorium, the cremator,
yeah,
or
that
whatever.
part.
And you're right. He instead of eating other people, he decides to do that. And I like the fact in that one that they show the two characters dying throughout the movie.
Oh yeah,
Like everything from The Walking Dead. Like people get bit, and then they change. They change not too long after that when they die throughout the movie, and it's like, oh, that would suck really bad. So that's why that movie is iconic, and it broke the
it's
mold, of zombie
it's kind of
movies.
creepy, but it's like funny too. Um,
Yeah,
I noticed like Trash looked like way different. Like there was like you don't see her very much, but like when she bites somebody, it's like her face like gained like 20 pounds or something. Like for some reason that was like creepy to me or something. I was like, why does she look
yeah.
like that? Like
I actually took a still of that when she bites one of the cops. Her face looks like a demon, and her mouth is elongated. Like they kind of address that they don't just change to a zombie. Like their form goes completely like off the rails. I'm glad you caught that. Like that's crazy stuff. So, um, how about like I call them more I don't want to say suspense, but something like The Exorcist, where it's more like there's no slashers, it's possession. And how do you feel about those types? Have you seen obviously the original Exorcist?
well, my parents like they used to give exorcisms, so those movies kind of creep me out because they seem like real to me, like
Yeah,
that could happen. And a lot of people die from like demonic possession and exorcisms. Like a lot of people don't know that, but like there are people that actually die from that. So those are probably like some of the creepiest. Like the exorcism or the Exorcist, the first one's really scary to me. The third one was really creepy to me. Like
I love the third one.
the one in the what is it, the mental hospital. Like my dad used to watch that all the time when I was a kid because he likes that kind of stuff. Because he's like, oh, I've given exorcisms, not a big deal. I'm like, this is freaking scary, dude. I don't want to watch this. Like I'll get like creeped out. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
they in real life they would end up like the people who they thought were possessed would end up like starving to death. They wouldn't feed them, and just like they would die from banging their head around. And I somebody like me, I have epilepsy. I often go, wow, 100 years ago they would have just killed me because they
well,
didn't know the difference. you know and it's a fun, but those, I guess, say suspense if you want to call it that, but it's not like there's a massive killer coming to get you. It's like, oh, this poor girl possessed, and they made a million more of them, obviously.
mm-hmm,
But the one, I think it's something Emily Rose. That's a decent one if anybody hasn't seen it. So,
yeah,
um, then you get to the same type of thing like The Conjuring when that series came out. Kind
mm-hmm.
of, have you seen those?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of those. I didn't really get heavily into those. Like I said, those are some like the creepiest ones to me because I just believe that it's like so possible. So like I don't like to mess with those. much. I just
Have you
like to watch like the cheesy '80s stuff as much as possible.
have you seen what the actual Annabelle doll looks like?
Yeah, I've
It's a
seen it.
Raggedy Ann doll. It's,
Yeah, I know it's like that's not very scary, but I don't know. I guess she makes like bad stuff happen, so I don't know.
well, that actually can lead to the next one because in the Conjuring universe, the couple, the Warrens, like in real life, they brought upon what became the Amityville horror.
Mhm.
And a little backstory because one of the other shows I do is like paranormal and cryptozoology, but the sad part is the Warrens. It seems they were in on it for the Amityville horror for the guy who wrote the book. They came up with that together, and then so not much of it's real, if any. But they ended up having to redo the house because too many people were going to see it in Long Island. But
I
I
did
will
hear
say,
that it was like a scam or something, right? But people really died there, right? Like there's really,
uh, yeah,
but the haunting stuff wasn't real, right? Like,
yes, the story is, DeFeo, Robert DeFeo shot his family. Then the movie's about the next couple that moves in, and it's possessed by those people. So yeah, there were murders, but then the the rest is hype, and it made a good movie. And I will say that the 2005 remake with Ryan Reynolds was good. You
hmm
know, they did a good job with that. Um, let's see now. What about movies like, let's say, just classic The Blair Witch, where you have found footage?
um, well, I wasn't too crazy about that. Like, and I was kind of too little to understand what's going on. My mom was freaking out when we watched that. She's like, "This is the scariest thing I've ever seen." And then we watched TRL and we saw the people on there, and my mom's like, "I thought they died. What the heck? Like, was that fake?" Like, she
They
was
did a
pretty
good
upset.
job of pulling the wool over like getting people to believe it, but I think it peaked with movies like Paranormal Activity, where
Yeah,
found footage and then they ran it like everything else into the ground. But so you have some good points to that, you know. Um, Also in suspense, Silence of the Lambs. That's technically a horror movie.
that one's creepy. Like, I don't know,
Cause,
Hannibal Lecter, he's creepy. The Buffalo dude, he's creepy. Like, it's pretty
yeah,
scary.
because those movies, it's like Texas Chainsaw, it's humans, and it almost
It's
could
like,
happen.
yeah, like twisted people. Like, yeah, that's like there are people like I think Buffalo Bill. He's inspired by real serial killers and stuff. Like, right, or Ed Gein
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. Oh, Ed Gein inspired at least 10 different franchises, and
Leatherface too.
right. But he, in and of himself, he's scarier than anything because he actually like kept bodies made like lampshades out of skin. Like people can look that up. I don't want to
Yeah, bowls
get
and
too graphic,
bowls and
but
yeah.
yeah, because there was no actual person with a chainsaw, but they went with Ed Gaines. So that people looked up. Here's an obscure one. Have you seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Yes, that one's good. That's classic. Um,
Yeah,
when I was a kid, it was scary to me. Now I'm like, dude, they look stupid. But
yeah.
when I was little, it
It's
was
funny
frightening.
now. Um, Now just so you know, I was in high school in the '90s, so that tells you how old I am. I'm 43 now, so I got to fold in the like when Scream came out. I was like my last year in high school, and that put a new interest in it. But then, like we said, like people went to space and stuff like that. So now, how? What about I we call them anthology movies. Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt.
Creep Show. Creep Show's good. I don't like Creep Show 2. I don't think it was Stephen King either. Was it?
No, well, he was in the first one with the meteor, and
Yeah,
he
that one.
wrote some of them.
I like that one. Um,
Yeah,
I wasn't too crazy. Like, there was one, The Raft. I thought that was like stupid. It looked like a trash bag. Like, I
The
didn't
oil
like that
slick,
one.
yeah.
I thought that wasn't scary. It's like a trash bag killing people, like literally. And plus,
Well,
I just didn't like that. The whole scene too. They're stuck on what is it? They're stuck on a raft, and this one guy, like, they're all their friends got killed. All he cares about is getting laid or something. It's like, what a dumbass!
yeah,
Like, like that's not realistic. Like,
like they're in the story where they swim out to a pontoon or something. They say the raft, but then they go to where one of the girls is sleeping and he starts touching her, and it's like, oh,
it's
like
like
you
dumbass.
didn't
You
eat,
die. Like,
yeah,
why are you thinking about that? Like, what's your problem, dude?
yeah. What about the Tales from the Crypt series with the Crypt Keeper?
Um, I like the TV series. I didn't like the movies. I didn't like season six. I thought season six was like the worst. I think it was all British too, but that's not why I didn't like it. It
Yeah,
just wasn't good to me. It was like boring.
right. Oh yeah.
Um, the
Not even
early season,
You didn't like Demon Knight with
maybe
Billy
I.
Zane and Jada Pinkett
Well,
Smith?
yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't remember it that well, but I remember when I was a little kid, I didn't like it because I watched that when I was a little kid, and we watched like my favorite ones were like the one with the fat guy where he's like if no one or it's like if I can't have you, no one will. Like I remember that one with Demi Moore and like
Oh
do you
yeah,
remember that
yeah,
one?
yeah,
That was
yeah,
one that
yeah.
like we used to think was like so hilarious when I was a kid. And what's another one? There's so many of those.
Well, yeah. It's
I'm trying to think like on the top of my head. It's
now the
been years.
movies were Demon Knight, Bordello, Blood, and they did make a third movie. And fun fact, Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing was in the third movie, but the third movie's terrible. I
Oh
forgot the
really?
name of it. Don't look it up, but just funny when you see really famous people in horror movies. So, what about the Twilight Zone movie?
Twilight Zone movie's good. I like the TV series, the old
Oh
series.
yeah, oh yeah.
It's like iconic. A lot of good episodes. Um, one of my favorites that I thought was scary was the one where it just keeps getting hotter and hotter, and there's like nothing anybody could do about it. That
Yep,
one's a favorite. And then the one where the people are dolls and they don't realize it, and like they
that's
just wake up in a
spooky.
random house. Yeah, they wake up in a
That
random
is
house together. And like, who are you? It's like that one's one of my favorites too.
good call.
Oh, somebody
You
brought up From Dusk Till Dawn. Have you seen that one?
Oh, that's def
Vampires.
oh, it's one of my favorites because I go so far back that vampires were one of my favorites, and that did a good take on the genre. George Clooney's to me one of his best movies. It ties into the uh, Quentin Tarantino universe with Desperado and Pulp Fiction, but they did a good job of like not your typical vampire movie. So definitely one of my
Yeah,
favorites. Which Lost Boys is one everybody chalks up. I'm sure you've seen that one.
yeah. Lost Boys is good.
Yeah, definitely
AFAB Fit
one.
Geeky.
Now you had mentioned Stephen King. Now he did Silver Bullet, which was a werewolf movie. You have Christine, It, The Shining, The Thing. How do you feel about his little run?
Um, I like The Shining. The one about the car is like probably my least favorite. Oh, and you know what? No, take that back. Maximum Overdrive. That's like the worst one.
Really? That
I
wasn't.
don't.
I found it fun.
I
Just fun.
thought it was
It
like
was
so.
stupid.
I thought it was like stupid. I mean, maybe like it's fun, but it's not scary. I guess if we're talking about scary level, it's not. My favorite by Stephen King is probably The Stand. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen that? That
I
one's
read the
probably my
book.
favorite.
I
Oh,
read the
well,
book. I didn't get to
you need to
see the
watch the
movie.
series. I got it at
I
Walmart, $5. You need to
It's
get
on
it.
my list. It's on my list. Like I read Salem's Lot, and that was a TV series, but it was also a TV series. Did you see the new It?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. Like, I think the clown was better in the original with Tim Curry
Yeah,
because of he had such an approachable look to him. He was very friendly, and he's a psycho. Like the new one's just automatically creepy. I wouldn't go near that thing.
exactly.
Like that's how
Like
I feel about him.
yeah, the new one it's too long. They tried to get too into it, and they lost sight of like yeah, Tim Curry was approachable, and then he was scary. This one, he's just scary all the time, and I
Yeah, it's
haven't
like
seen
I
chapter
wouldn't go near
two.
that.
So, but what about like outer space? So far as like the Thing, Aliens, like outer space.
Aliens. Aliens, yeah, that's like one of my favorites. That's like sci-fi, but yeah, like I am kind of more into sci-fi than horror, but yeah,
They
Aliens
they
is
they're very closely related though. Like Alien,
they
the
kind of
first
are.
one,
Yeah.
it's like haunted house in space with an alien. The second one, you get the military, but people sometimes put that in the horror genre. What about the Thing remake or old?
I don't think I ever watched like the thing. I
Okay.
probably need to. It's just like one of those on my list.
Don't don't worry about the remake in 2011. What there's a 52 version, and then there's the Kurt Russell 82 version. Those are the
I
ones to go with.
I don't like the other Alien sequels, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like a lot of those. I feel like Aliens, like the original, is like my fave on that.
Yeah, you can stick with the first two, and they have actually the video game Isolation is almost you have Ripley's daughters in that game, so it's kind of a connection right there.
yeah, that's
So
pretty
you don't have to
creepy.
watch the other one. What about the Phantasm franchise with the silver balls that attack people? The tall man.
I don't know that one. What is it?
Um, Phantasm. Um,
Phantasm.
there's the main bad guy's called the tall man. He uses little silver balls, and they like will stick in your head and drill in. But he takes people and turns them into slaves, little midget slaves, and they go into different dimensions. It's the first one's like early '80s, and they made like up to six of them, but the first two are really interesting. If you ever get a chance, look
Yeah,
up Phantasm.
I need to watch that one. There was one movie that like I don't know if you're familiar with. It was called Dennis that I used to watch when I was a kid about an evil dentist that would mess up your
Oh
teeth, and
yeah,
like that was scary to me. Like I was like, dude, I'm already scared of dentists, dude. Like this is
yeah.
horrifying. And he'd purposely screw everybody over. That one was a creepy one. That's like I don't. I feel like it's underrated. People don't ever talk
Oh
about it, but
no,
like it's realistic, dude. Like doctors, dentists, like sometimes they're psychos too. Like it
yeah, because
happens.
those type of things, like the dentist, everybody's going to see a dentist at some point. So your fears may come around.
Yeah.
Here's one that kind of changed horror in a way. The Saw franchise, torture porn, as I call it. Like
So,
it's just
yeah. I those ones like I saw the first one. I was pretty young when it came out. I was like probably like 11 or 12, and it was like disturbing to me. Like
yeah,
it really like when he was sawing off his foot. Like it was horrible. Then they just kind of just they got more gruesome and just gross, and it's just not really my
exactly.
thing. I guess like I felt like it wasn't like Hellraiser where there's like a
Mm,
interesting story. It's just like, oh, let's
right?
just kill people for fun, like just so rando, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but the new Saw is written and starring Chris Rock.
Oh, really? The new
Yeah, the
Saw, huh?
trailer. Yeah, he same type. It looks, and they only dropped a teaser trailer, but it looks the same. You know, somebody's planning all these murders, and like I said, it's torture porn. With movies like Hostel, and just people getting like you said, Hellraiser is like one version of that, but they don't like the whole movie's not about ripping people apart. Saw and Hostel and those movies are let's see how gross we can get, and that's not too scary to me. It's just gross.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I like something that's either like kind of silly, funny, like has an interesting story, or like psychological thrillers and stuff too. Like that's kind of fun too.
So I forgot to ask this in the beginning, but what was the first horror movie you saw in a theater?
The first one I saw in a theater, I think the first one I saw was a horrible movie because it's like if you're talking about like I went to by myself, like or I went with my brother. We were like 13, like 14, like we were little kids kind of. We saw a movie called White Noise with Michael
Oh
Keaton,
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
and I was like scared of it at the time, but now I'm like, that movie's garbage, dude. Like
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It was just
when I was
literally.
like when I was a kid, I was like, any sound I jumped though, like because I was sitting by myself in the theater. But like, it's really dumb.
What about Jeepers Creepers? The first one came out with Justin
Jeepers
Long.
Creepers. Well, that one, I I think that one's kind of the monster's kind of cool or whatever. I kind of like it, but like the director kind of creeps me out. I don't know if you know about him.
Oh yeah, we don't. We,
Yeah, he did some
it,
messed up stuff, so he kind of
he
makes it
ruined it.
more. He kind of yeah, he kind of did because I didn't know that about him when I first saw it. And I was like, that was a pretty good horror movie, and I was like, oh well, I don't want to support
Yeah,
him.
he
He
got
did
arrested later on,
he did
and
a movie called Clowns or something. Have you ever seen
Clown
that one?
House, and
Clown House. That was,
he videotaped him in the star, the young boy. And I'll just leave it at that. And yeah,
yeah,
Victor Salvo. We don't like to talk about him in the horror community
yeah.
because
He
bad.
ruined it. Yeah, like I was gonna say, like he kind of ruined Jeepers Creepers for me.
Me
And
too.
I that Clown House movie, like I had no clue till later on about that either, and it made that movie creepy to me too. Seeing the kids, I was like, all those poor
Hmm.
kids. So yeah, like
Yeah,
he's a piece of trash.
yeah. We don't like. I give Jeepers Creepers a pass because the first one at least was good, new, different, and gave us a new horror monster. And the stuff about him didn't seep into that movie, but came
Yeah, you
out
don't have
kind of
to like
later.
associate him with it, I guess.
Yeah,
But he said something. He said in all of his movies, like nobody, there's never gonna be a good ending or something. He wants everybody to be miserable or something like. And
yeah. There's a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Orphan. It's about a girl who's 40 years old but plays like a teenager and tricks a family into adopting her.
oh, I did see that. That
That's
one was
interesting.
that one was creepy. She's trying to get with the dad and stuff.
Yeah, and that's in a genre of movies where the I say the bad guys, but there's no like you said, there's no good ending. Like the bad people win.
Yeah,
And that's an interesting take, but it doesn't sit well with like when you go to the theater or watch a movie, you don't want to go out on a low note. You don't want to be like, oh, I feel bad now. So
yeah.
that's where that falls. How about where to go? How about Trick or Treat with
But
Sam, the little guy with the
I haven't watched that either. That's another one I need to watch.
yeah, I
My
recommend it because it's or four different stories. They loosely connect, and you get the little guy with the sack on his head. He's like their mascot, but it's a different take, and they tried something new.
I was
Um,
thinking, with my son, he's always rooting for the bad guys. I would be like, "Get him, Krueger!
eh,
Get him!" It's like,
yeah.
"What the heck, Doug?"
What about the Final Destination series? That's technically horror.
Oh, I haven't seen those in a while. That's where they die all jacked up. Um, those ones kind of just bother me because I'm a hypochondriac. So I'm like, dude, I'm probably gonna
Yeah,
die in like a messed up accident.
yeah, that can make you feel that way, but it
It's
was
like
different.
it's ridiculous, but like I have mental problems, so I'm like, I can't watch this because I'm gonna be thinking about it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
think like freaking ramen noodles gonna kill me or something or whatever.
yeah, I don't blame you. Fun fact for that. The fourth one or fifth one was filmed down here. I'm in New Orleans, and some of the extras that are in the racetrack scene for anybody who's seen it, um, I was actually knew, and they got me a part in a movie. It's a TV movie, but it's technically horror. But and the mall scene in that, so a lot of that was filmed down here. So that's the only part I really enjoy about that. But um, other than that, yeah, it fell off the rails. The first one's good, where there's no person killer, no possessed person. It's just death trying to find its way. So it is different, but yeah, if somebody doesn't like to see inanimate objects kill you, that could be a problem. I don't. I agree with you on that one. So, you had mentioned the other day you had seen The Howling. I heard you say that the
Yeah,
werewolf movie.
we were watching werewolf stuff and what is it? Oh, we watched Ginger Snaps. Like those were the
Mm,
ones that I watched a lot of.
I've seen
I
that.
feel like I feel like I like the first one. The second one ain't bad. Or I don't know. First and second one are decent. I didn't like the one where they went back in time. I didn't like
No,
that. It was kind of boring.
they, um,
I don't like when they do stuff like that either, where they take it back to like 1800s or something. They did that with one of the Hellraisers, and I hated it.
yeah, they ruin it. Anytime they try and do more origins, it's not real. Like Halloween with Rob Zombie. Like we don't need to know what the person was doing when they were a kid. But
Yeah.
going off of werewolves, what about the classic American Werewolf in London?
That one's pretty good. That's
Famous
another one I haven't
transformation.
seen for a long time, but that one is pretty good. Um,
It's hard to get a good werewolf movie because you're talking how good is the makeup and the prosthetics. Like Underworld is technically a horror movie, yeah, vampires and werewolves, but they made them gigantic beast instead of just a guy turning into it. The best example, and this leads into this. Have you seen the Monster Squad?
mhm,
There's your
yeah.
best example of like, there's your classic horror people. You can call them the universal monsters if you want. But you have Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, Frankenstein. So, and you get a bit of like a Goonies tale, like, it's based around the kids. So that's definitely a good one. But yeah, they did an American Werewolf in Paris. I don't suggest anybody checks that out. It really wasn't a good sequel to that movie. It's not a
Well,
sequel, but
I do kind of like the kid stuff. I probably like Goosebumps and stuff. Like I like that a lot too. Um, The Haunting Hours, like a newer one that like R.L. Stein did. Have you ever seen that?
oh, I had not seen it. I know of it, but I'm gonna.
It's kind of
I
fun to watch and stuff. I watch it with my kid and stuff.
I did enjoy the Goosebumps movie, the new one.
Yeah, those are good.
There's only so much you can do with that too, but they did a good job. Have you seen any of the Puppet Master movies?
Yeah, I've seen those. I don't remember them hardly. I remember watching an evil movie about Pinocchio when I was a kid. There was some movie in the
Mm,
90s, and then there was a jacked up Rumpelstiltskin movie in the 90s where he looked kind of like Marilyn Manson. Have you ever seen that?
I think I know that one, but yeah, they.
I
It's hard
watched
to
like
do a.
some really cheesy stuff. The Evil Snowman, Jack Frost.
Jack Frost is funny. I'll give you that. It
Yeah, I
really
watched some of
is.
like the cheesiest ones.
Santa Slays. You seen that one with Goldberg is Santa?
No, I haven't
Check it
seen that.
out. He goes Goldberg from wrestling goes all out as Santa, just straight up killing people, and
Oh,
they make it funny and interesting.
yeah, I think there's some YouTuber named Fiona Apple, and she said that was her dad or something in that movie. Have you heard of her?
Fiona Apple. I only know the artist who that was a singer.
She's a singer, but now she's a YouTuber, and she's talking about her.
Really,
Yeah, she does YouTube now.
I
She
didn't
was
know
talking about
that.
that being her dad or something.
Hmm.
Like I watched one of her live streams.
I'd have to check into that. Now they
You
actually
could probably
started.
just ask her about it.
Oh no, I'll definitely look it up. I love the back info in movies. Have you heard of the Hatchet franchise?
Hatchet. I've seen it on Amazon Prime. Haven't watched it yet.
They filmed those down here in the swamp, and the second or third movie was directed by once again Danielle Harris. But that's where you get the Victor Crowley character, and I think they made a movie just about him. But
Hmm.
a fun little movie where it's also just about gruesome kills, but most horror movies are. But to go into the worst side, have you ever heard of I Spit on Your Grave?
Mhm.
They remade it, and that was also filmed in Louisiana here. But um, I don't suggest anybody watch the original because it's a rape revenge story, and it's
Mm.
horrible to see that. The remake's not as bad, but once again, like we said, like people being tortured is not as to me not as scary as like a killer or the spooky atmosphere
It's
where they
just
take it to the
upsetting, I
limit.
guess. It's just like, yeah, it's like
Exactly.
puts me
Like
in a bad mood. I'm like, this is just sad. Like, I don't want to watch it.
you don't want to feel just straight up bad about people. Well, you were talking about watching movies. We mentioned this in one of our podcasts, but my sister worked at a video store when I was younger, and we could get one free movie a day. And me and my buddy, who's in my videos, we would ride our bike, get a new movie a day, and we watched every horror movie on the shelf for one summer. And we got everyone in the store. And that's how I know about a lot of these old, ridiculous horror movies. And this is back when like zombies were a joke. Like
Mhm.
now they're everywhere. It's really ridiculous. But that's how I got to see some of these really like we didn't care what it was, but it taught me that there's a million ideas out there, but you never know. You sometimes you come across a gem because they started running the franchises into the ground where Freddy, Jason, and all them like they ran those into the ground, and now you're getting kind of an upsurge. I'm gonna make a suggestion for anybody. There's a movie it just came out on demand. It's called Camp Cold Brook. Um, I did a trailer review, and the director of the movie got in touch with us and thanked us for doing the review and said he liked it. His name is Andy
Oh,
Palmer,
cool. That's pretty
and
cool.
it was yeah, and it's it, from the trailer you see like they go to an abandoned camp and they're paranormal investigators, and I haven't seen it yet. It just came out for Valentine's Day, but that was just nice. And that guy hit me up. I'm like, okay, like, so you never know. That's why if anybody does anything on like YouTube, you never know who's watching. But so, what's some of like your personal favorite horrors that you've come to love?
My favorite personal horrors.
I mean, maybe something you can go back to like without a problem and just put it in and
Hmm. Well, we watch Chucky, but I've seen those a lot. I don't know. I guess like Return of the Living Dead, like that's one that I've watched multiple times. Um, I don't know. I guess it's just gotta be like silly kind of stuff.
yeah.
Like I said, not upsetting kind of thing. Like I'm not into like slasher. Like I kind of don't even like Friday the 13th and stuff that much. I know a lot of people will think like that's horrible, but like it's just like dude, he's a real jerk. He's just like killing people for no reason. Like he's a jerk.
Just
So I
because
don't.
they're on his property, he goes nuts.
Well, sometimes he's on their property. Like he be going to
Yeah,
people. It's like, what's your problem, dude? Like he's a lunatic. Um, I don't know.
and they remade that one in '09, and it was not that good. So
Well, sometimes like those upset me a little bit too, because like he'll just like smash somebody's head with a hatchet. I'm like, I don't want to see that. Like, so
yeah, there's
sometimes,
no thought put behind that.
yeah, like I feel like it's just I can almost do without those, even though I know Jason's very iconic though. But I'm not too big into the Friday the 13th, to be
So
honest.
in that regard, I guess like movies like Prom Night and Terror Train, all those that came out in the '80s, probably weren't your bag.
No, not too much. Like, there's I like a movie. This one's kind of gross and it's kind of scary, but I like Reanimator. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, of course, a classic.
That one's
And
good, and it's kind of nasty, but I thought it was good. With the dude, he had his head in the little like pan or whatever.
yeah,
That one
that
was
was
pretty
good,
good.
like you said, because they made it funny. They didn't make
Yeah,
it
what?
too
There was a
serious.
there was a reason for it though too. Like a guy was trying to come up with something to keep you alive. Like there's a purpose, a story. Um, they did do like some sequels that were really bad. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they were like really bad. Like I don't know where he got bat wings on his head. And he's like
Oh
flying
yeah.
around. That was
Yeah.
kind of stupid.
No, you're right.
It's
Have
funny,
you
but
ever heard?
it's dumb. Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery. That's
Oh,
another
there you
one.
go. I
Pet
forgot that in the
Cemetery.
Stephen
I
King
like
line.
I like Pet Cemetery too a little bit more than
Yeah.
the first one. Even the first one, like seeing a little kid get like ran over, kind of upset me.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I have kids too, so it's like, oh no, you
yeah,
don't want to
like
see that too much.
I felt like the second one was kind of funny. Like I liked the what's his name, Clancy Brown or whatever.
Clancy
He was
Brown.
he was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Edward Furlong, Terminator
Yeah.
2 fame.
Oh yeah, he's what happened to him? He's never in movies anymore.
They when the last Terminator came out last year, um, they were going to bring him back, but it turns out he got in a lot of trouble later on in his career for abuse dealing with his spouse, and I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
So
So
they
yeah,
didn't bring.
he's done
That's
for.
that's why he disappeared, like Terminator 2 and Pet Cemetery 2, and then here and there. But yeah, that's what happened. He was at a Comic Con and they started asking him if he was in the new movie. And he's like, yeah, but it turned out they just used his voice, but they didn't want to deal with him. So
Yeah.
that's what happened with that. And technically, you could call Terminator a horror movie because they're being stalked and trying to be killed by a robot. But most times, in maybe an action section, but you never know. Like sometimes that's
I
a
think
horror.
all the Terminators are evil and that there's no nice ones. I mean, they all just kill people. Like, none of them are good.
Well, they end up like in the second one they reprogram Schwarzenegger's to help out, but they're mindless in and of themselves. So you're right. Like there's there's no salvation. Have you seen or heard of the movie House?
House. What's that one about? Sounds familiar.
It's from the 80s. A guy inherits his grandma's house. He's a Vietnam vet, and it's basically the house is the doors to another dimension. So he'll open a door, go in, and he's back in Vietnam.
Oh,
And
I
then
have seen that one.
that's a
That
classic.
is that
I,
a
I,
new? Is that an older one or a newer one? Cause
oh, that's an 80s.
okay, yeah,
That's
I've seen
that's
that
all.
one.
Yeah, it's classic. They did do a sequel. I don't suggest anybody watch that because it's not literally it's not worth the trouble. Let's see. Now, like I was saying, like you were right about that age when the Scream movies came out. Like that was you said that was kind of a big impact. How does somebody like those movies where you have a human killer compare to like a slasher? Do you find that to be scary because they are human?
Kind of, but I feel like something that's not human is creepier because, like, how you gonna kill it? How you gonna get rid of it? You know, I got a 12 gauge if like some psycho's coming around, but it's like some kind of demon or something. Like, I guess I'm screwed. Like, I guess I just have to
Well,
die.
that tends to be why somebody like Freddy Krueger's scary because what are you going to do in your dream? Like you're out of there's no control. Like you can't get a gun, and at least somebody like Michael Myers, they may not die if you shoot him, but you can push him back. Those type of movies like Freddy Krueger, he's in your mind. And Hellraiser, once again, like if you're fighting a demon, there's really nothing you can do about it.
But even with
Um,
Michael Myers, it seems like you shoot him and he's gonna just like rise back up and like get you. So it's like they're almost inhuman too. Sometimes it seems like.
they made a big deal in the 2018 Halloween where they were asking the writers and directors, is he inhuman or is he, what? And they said straight up, the 2018 movie, he's human.
Hmm.
Like in that when they blow his fingers off, they shoot him in the neck. But just like in the original, eventually the guy's going to die. And then I hope they cross that bridge in a good way where How do you deal with a supernatural person like Friday the 13th, somebody like Jason, like, okay, well, we know we can't kill him, he'll never die. How you gonna make that scary in the end? And that's the hard part with horror. So that's why suspense, putting like actual, I think that's why the Conjuring movies did well. It switched to ghostly type things, and you know, there was no straight up, this is what the killer is. So
Hmm.
that's uh, but they also ran that into the ground, like The Nun and movies like that. I've never seen that one. Annabelle 1 and 2, like, oh my God, like they just ran that. Chucky was the perfect example of a killer doll. So,
Hmm.
but I didn't hear all that great of things when it comes to the new one. Like the AI Chucky, he didn't look that great. Like the story was okay, but maybe they shouldn't have touched it. So I don't know. I'm gonna try and
Also,
do.
like what I heard about this new Chucky is like all the Chuckies in the store are evil and they're all coming to get people, and they're like that kind of is stupid too because like I kind of liked how it's like a voodoo curse or whatever. The only thing he had was a doll to put himself into, and like there was only one that was killing people. The rest of the dolls were normal, so it's like that kid like unfortunately that kid got like the evil one or
I think they say he in the remake Chucky he can tap into anything electronic like cameras, drones, and he'd kill somebody with a drone in the movie. Spoilers for anybody, but yeah, like
I feel
they
like
shouldn't.
I don't like all that kind of. I don't like all the technology and stuff like
Right?
being involved. I kind of liked how it was just simple, like more simple, I guess. He's just like a dude that put his soul into it all. Like it's kind of cooler.
Speaking of voodoo, one that's where the original zombies come from. Just if anybody wants to know, like
Like
Haitian
Haitian,
voodoo.
yeah.
Have you seen the Serpent and the Rainbow?
I think yeah, I have seen that. I don't
It's a
know.
good depiction.
I think like I've heard that the Haitian zombies are like real though. Like I've heard of people being like, this person's been dead for 10 years now. They're working my farm or whatever. Like I've heard of people doing that, like making those slaves out of those. So that's kind of creepy to me.
A little insight because unfortunately down here in New Orleans they love voodoo. There's voodoo stores literally. Um, we have the voodoo priestess Mary. I forgot her name offhand, but people go to her grave. But with the stories with the zombies in Haitian, it's apparently the venom of a puffer fish,
Hmm.
and that venom will like slow your heart down almost to a stop. You're pretty much in a coma. They bury the body thinking it's dead, and when the person comes back, they're so not into it, they will like make them work their farms. And there's been cases of a couple people coming back enough to where, oh, and they go home and the person's like, oh my God, you've been dead for 10 years. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
that would be
You
if you
ruined
want
it
to.
for me.
I'm sorry, but that would be a technical zombie, compared to flesh eating zombies or such. Yeah, that would be what a technical zombie is like. Now, there might be more to it, but I don't want to dwell too deep into that kind of crazy stuff. But um, I'm sure you've seen the black and white Night of the Living Dead, the Romero classic.
Hmm.
Um, that to me is like, if you want to get into zombies, start with that or the remake of that, which is in color. But you get walking zombies, which you get into the Walking Dead type stuff where you can kind of run past them if there's not that many of them. So
Hmm.
now they had the Mall Day of the Dead, and they remade the Mall one, which became a classic. Ving Rhames and that whole bunch. Now in that one, the problem we have is they made zombies pretty much. I don't want to say supernatural, but like the zombies are all super strong and they can all run. And the theory we like to put forward is if you have a group of zombies and a zombie bites a 90-year-old lady, that 90-year-old lady should run like a 90-year-old lady, you know? But lots of the zombie movies today, no matter who gets infected or bit or whatever you want to call it, they can rip the door off the hinges, and that's a downer. Like
I feel like the whole idea of like a dead person being able to run is so ridiculous. They're gonna be stiff. They're gonna be like rigor
yep,
mortis or whatever. They ain't gonna be running. They're gonna be slower than ever. Like, why are they so flexible? Like, that's kind of unrealistic, I guess. But it is a movie. But still, they
very
should make
true.
it a little bit more realistic. Be more
Well,
enjoyable.
one fun fact they do in Return of the Living Dead is when the two guys are talking before they hit the barrel and make the zombies happen, is one guy tells the other a story. He says, well, the black and white movie is based on a real case where they were trying to spray something on marijuana to do something, and that's what causes the dead to reanimate. Now, that is loosely based on a real case where the government made something and
Hmm.
it would make a dead body, it wouldn't come back to life, but it would, like, its arms would lift up and down, it would sit up. But so that would be the closest to a movie zombie you're going to get. And they touch in that in the movie, and they use the marijuana story. Then they go look at the tar monster, as they call, or tar man eating brains guy. But that's a fun fact. Like, they did reanimate corpses in real life, but they didn't fight anybody. They didn't run. They didn't do any of that stuff. So there's a little truth in some old horror movies, but
That's kind of
um,
cool. I never knew that. I always thought that was like the stupidest thing. I didn't know that was like kind of real. I was like, that's
yeah.
dumb.
Well, that's like the Ed Gaines thing. They took one nugget of truth and turned it into something else. So
I guess yeah, that's like a good way to come up with stories is have like inspiration and stuff. Like horror movies they gotta have inspiration from somewhere.
yeah, because quite frankly, they're running out of ideas these days, and you can't bring back the classics. Like, how many more Freddy, Jason movies can you make? Like, they're doing the Michael Myers good, but they can't make 10 more of them. There's no room for it. So
Well, my
that
brother, he made a good point about remakes. He said the reason why they make these remakes is like to bring you back to the old stuff, so you'll be streaming those again. You'll be like, "Oh, that was so horrible. I need the good stuff."
yeah.
So that stuff will get popular again. I think that was a pretty good point. I think maybe that's why they do it. I don't know.
Yeah, a good example is the 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if you've seen that one, where they make the guy look like an actual burn victim.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that one.
Because they actually use the story, change the characters around, and change Freddy to something else, and then they make him an actual pedophile. Like, in the original, he's a child murderer. In the remake, he, etc. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
go further. And they didn't need to do that. Just like telling Michael Myers' original story. And when they wanted to do the remake for Friday the 13th, they were going to tell you who Jason's dad was. And when that script leaked, everybody went, "We don't want to know. We don't care." Then they made the Leatherface prequel showing him as a kid, and they
hmm
give him a chain. They give him a chainsaw at his like 10th birthday, and they ruined it, of course. So there is, yeah, the remakes will make you go back, and that's one of the things we like to do. Like, we
I feel
review.
like the reason why they do the childhood thing, which it's not necessary, if they're trying to show you what created these monsters, why they're the way they are. And I just, yeah, we don't need to see it. It's, like they probably had a messed up childhood. Like, we get it. Like, we don't need to see it. Like,
It's like Michael Myers was scarier when he was just a 6-year-old kid who snapped. He didn't
yeah,
have hick parents who were mean to him or anything. And they never know why he never speaks, and that's why Rob Zombies didn't work, because we don't need to know, and we don't need to make him his life so bad he wants to kill. That's not scary. So
it's almost like, a Ted Bundy thing. Like, he was like, everybody thought he was normal. No, he wasn't. Like, he had a good childhood, everything, but he's like a random psycho. Like some people, you don't have to have a bad childhood. You could just be crazy, you know.
Yeah, there's a woman, and I forgot her name. I wish I remembered it, but she worked with Ted Bundy, and he would walk her to her car at night when they left work. He was a caller for the suicide hotline, and the woman did an interview and said he was never he never did anything out of the ordinary with her. He walked her to her car every night. He was polite, never raised his voice. And yeah, he's one of those people like you never would know. And then,
Yeah, wasn't he
oh,
with her daughter and stuff too? And like,
yeah,
like
I
they didn't
think
know. Jeffrey
now
Dahmer had like a neighbor that was like, oh, he was a nice guy, and then she's like, wait a minute, he used to bring me these meat sandwiches. What was in those? I think so. Like
they
sometimes
there's so
um,
many of those stories where they say, "Oh, he was such a nice guy, you never would have known."
Ed Gein too. I heard people sort of like, oh, he's just like a shy guy, like
Yeah,
whatever. Like I don't know. They just end up being crazy. You just never know. Like we probably ran into like serial killers and never knew. It's like going to Walmart or something. You never know.
that's right.
Like there's mad people out there everywhere.
Here's a fun fact for any rock fans out there. They did a Ted Bundy movie recently with Zac Efron. I don't know if you remember that came out.
Oh, I didn't see it yet, but I have heard of it.
I heard it's good, but in that movie, one of the sheriffs is played by James Hetfield, the lead singer of Metallica.
Oh
Just a fun
wow.
fact.
Well,
Yeah,
there's one thing that disturbs me about the Ted Bundy stuff is how they're trying to make him like sexy and stuff, and like they're trying to make it like where he's attractive. Like that kind of bothers me. Like where people are like, "Oh, I want to be with like a Ted Bundy kind of guy." I
well,
don't
they
like
did.
that.
He did have a female fan club where girls wrote to him, wanted to marry him.
That's sick
Look,
to me. Like,
you,
but
you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's sick to me, and I don't like it. It's sort of like people were like with the Midnight Stalker guy, like, oh, I just like him, like, I just want to be tortured by like like I hate that kind of people want to be dating Freddy Krueger nowadays, and I don't get it.
Even
Um,
Charles Manson got married before he died, and
oh,
I
he's a
personally,
lunatic.
he was the worst. I think it was. I think it must be like almost like the drama on YouTube. Like I need clout. Look at me. I'm gonna go for the baddest boy there is, and they don't realize what they're really getting into.
It's like, yeah, like the Midnight Stalker, he killed like and raped old ladies and stuff. It's like, why are people into like that guy was a literal demon. And
Yeah,
Charles Manson, he was horrible. Like he didn't actually. Well, I think he might have killed somebody in prison, but like he didn't physically kill people outside of prison, but he persuaded people to do it. So it's like he is
he
responsible.
brainwashed. He
Yeah,
brainwashed them over
like
time.
a cult. Yeah, and like I had him on drugs and whatever. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
bad person. And there's still people that like him. Like Rob Zombie always acts like he's cool and stuff. I'm like, why do you act like that, dude?
yeah. There's Manson posters in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it's like, yeah,
But
let's not promote these people.
yeah, like in his concerts, he always has like a cardboard cutout and stuff. And like people are like, "Oh, we love Charles Manson because Rob Zombie." I'm like, dude, that's not cool how he's doing that.
I
You know,
saw I saw Rob Zombie in concert. Luckily, he didn't do that then, but I've heard of that stuff, and it's like, oh, you don't need to do like
it's like
Rob
this isn't a
Zombie's.
fictional character, dude. This is a real psycho. He
Yeah.
shouldn't do that.
Um, sorry to jump off topic real quick, but did you ever get to hear that song I was telling you about with the girl drummer who looks like you?
Oh yeah, I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a Christian band, and that girl, like I sent you the picture side by side. That's who would play you in the movie of life.
In the movie of life.
Yeah, I was telling you that's a little game we play. Like, what actor in the real world would play you in the movie of your life? And for me, some like when I was young, I looked like Corey Haim of all people. I had a little afro and all this stuff. But that's
No,
a little game we
Courtney.
play. And yeah, he's passed away unfortunately, but
He's a
I'm glad you
Lost
got to
Boys.
see that. Oh, Lost Boys is one of the best. Like they did a teenage like whoa, instead of like Count Dracula in a cape and all this, what if it was just like the local teenagers who are like at the party and you didn't know? And that's what was cool about that. And they did a good job with that. But um, now there's a Netflix series called Dracula where they go back to Count Dracula in a castle. I saw a couple episodes and I was like, that's all right. It wasn't all that great, but
Netflix series are usually like Stranger Things, the only one I like. I feel like they're always so bad. Like every time they try to do a series, it's like this is horrible. Hulu
I
does that too. Like the first season will be good, and then the second one is like this is a shit show. I ain't finishing it. I'm done with it.
the good thing about when you get like Netflix and Hulu is instead of people having to cram their ideas into a 2 hour movie, they can stretch it out. And that's why I think something like Stranger Things worked because you couldn't tell that story in like two movies. It, it
Yeah,
made it made sense, and I didn't get to see the third season yet, and I saw the teaser for the fourth one. But that's good horror that's coming out now, where they're putting some thought behind it. So
yeah, that one's good. Um, which and it has like I like how it's set in the '80s and stuff too. I like how like I just kind of like that. I like when they do that sometimes if they do it right. Like
yeah. Well, yeah, I was literally a kid in the '80s, and it's cool to see like a Ghostbusters reference, and it's like okay, and like that was they did a good job of like what was hot at the time and like how people
yeah,
acted, but I don't know how long they're gonna be able to do it. I hope it stretches out good. I might catch up later, but I haven't seen season three. I so who had the show called Lucifer, literally about the devil, but that's based off a comic book character. So, like,
yeah.
you got,
There was yeah, wasn't that show like where Lucifer's like a good guy or something too? I'm like,
yeah,
nah, dude, he's not
I
good.
saw the first two seasons, and like I said, there's a DC Comics character, Lucifer, and he uses his powers, if you will, to try and solve mysteries and help out. And so you can say he's good, but he's always, you can see he's mischievous. And personally, I don't think they should have ran with that, trying to make the devil look like a good person. But you
No,
know,
it's like trying to make Charles Manson look like a good person. Like, can't do it.
yeah,
Um, there was also show. Have you ever seen is it Outcast or something? That like it's about like this guy. He notices most of the people in his town are like possessed by demons, and there's like a priest, and him and the priest get together and they're trying to give everybody exorcisms. But in everybody's family, there's somebody that's possessed, and they're trying to learn how to like get the demon to not bite people and act normal and stuff. Like, just like behave. But like most people are possessed. Like it's such a weird one, but that's a pretty good. It was a TV series, but it was originally a comic. That one's pretty good.
where was it playing? Like Netflix, Hulu, or
I watched it. I think I watched it like on some like bootleg website or like because like I don't know. I couldn't really find it anywhere, but I think it might be on Hulu. But
and what was the name?
it's called Outcast. Like Outcast.
Outcast. I'll look into it because
Yeah, there's a comic too. That's pretty good. I started reading the comic and then I watched the series.
so are you a comic fan?
I like some comics. I used to read them a lot more when I was younger. But yeah, I liked like X-Men and stuff like that, like Batman, just like Betty, Veronica, like that kind of stuff. Just
Okay.
there's
Well,
one I used to read, it was called Warlock. That one was one too. Not very popular one that I liked.
yeah, I was I collected comics when I was younger. After moving around, I lost a bunch, but starting to get them back now. But just yesterday for Valentine's Day, I went over a comic about Rogue and Gambit from the X-Men, and about them being a couple, and they got married in the comics, by the way. So if anybody wants to check that out, and then like in DC, Batman and Catwoman were going to get married, but it didn't happen. So they've been toying around with that stuff. So I think
I
it's
just
interesting.
I don't like how the Marvel stuff, like, there's a lot of political stuff in it, and I'm not really into that. Like, I feel like I'm trying to get away from like the real world. Like, I don't want to read about this stuff, but
Right.
they're always putting political stuff in it, and like it's almost brainwashing. It's like, why is it gotta be in comics now? Like, why I don't want to talk about this. Like, I don't like politics. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh no, they do get it right sometimes. Like there's a character now, Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel, and she's Muslim American. And in the comic, they bring up like her family won't eat pork, and like so they address certain things that I think is cool to bring out.
Hmm.
But Marvel also is a lot real world, and like Obama was in some of the comics, and George Bush was in the, and that's where you're right. Like I don't need to go that far. Like
Yeah,
I'm watching people with powers. I don't really need you know too
I don't like
much.
it. I also like. I think it was Squirrel Girl. Like, she's like a newer one that
Yeah,
I heard. I don't like that character. I don't like it
yeah,
at all.
really.
She's very
She's
feminist, and like
funny.
I just don't. I don't like some of the stuff she says. Like, she's just a little too feminist for me. You know.
She's actually an older character, and she was good back when she started because she was called the undefeatable Squirrel Girl, and she could beat anybody in the Marvel universe. She beat Doctor Doom with a group of squirrels. So it was funny back in the day, and they ran with it. And yeah, just like the Captain Marvel movie, like I love female heroes. Like when Jane Foster became Thor, I bought all that. I mean, that's great. But then the movie's like, our movie is girl power to the max. It's like, oh, okay, well, you didn't have to run with it, but so I see where you're
Yeah,
coming
like
from.
it's just like some of it's just too much for me. It's like I think girl superheroes are fine. Um, yeah, I don't know. Well, they're always wanting to change superheroes' genders and races and stuff too nowadays. Like, that's a thing. Which is like, why don't we just make new superheroes? Like, why do we have to like just change them all? Like, why can't we just make new ones? You
You hit
know?
it on the head. We've said that many a times. Like they don't they can't age up their characters. You know, like Spider-Man came out in the '60s. He should be like 70 years old. So they have to keep redoing it. But they did give us Miles Morales Spider-Man, who's half Spanish, half black, and they made that work. But Peter Parker's still in his 30s, and it's like, oh, okay. And then Captain America, they addressed it in the movies where he gave the
You'd be
title
like
to,
really old, wouldn't he?
yeah, he technically in the comics he's lost like his super soldier serum, and he'll look like in the like he did in Endgame. He's like a really old 80-year-old man. So, but you know, actually, one day if you want, we should do a show just on comic stuff, and we could talk about that because that's one of the things we do on our channel. Comics, you know, from skateboarding to like you probably seen like crypto stuff like Bigfoot, like just anything
Yeah.
interesting because I'm not into doing the drama or stuff like that because like with your channel, like people just want to come in and start that stuff. It makes no sense.
They try to
It's
drag me into. I'm like, dude, I want to be a YouTuber. Leave me alone.
well, that's why I hit you up, and it's like let's talk about something else because that stuff it's the same thing over and over again. Like I
Yeah.
watch like I keep an eye on what's going on because I have a young son who watches like Roadblocks channels, and I don't want him to get involved. Like he came across J Station, if you know who that is,
Oh,
and
my son started. I don't like that guy either.
I'm well, he faked his girlfriend's death to get views, and no, so I
Yeah.
blocked him. So and I keep an eye on the commentary community, like because they'll see what Logan Paul's doing and how bad this person is, but I don't want to get involved. So when it comes to entertainment, you know, that's where we come in. Like we'll review trailers and we'll talk about comic books and we'll talk about other things. So any any topic you want comes to your mind and you want to do this again, I'll be happy to come back
Hmm.
and do this again. So that's like an overview version of like horror movies and what's out there. And I like everything you said. You got a great knowledge of it. And, you know, I hope there's some I named that you might go catch up on. And there's some
Yeah,
you named that I'm going to go look.
yeah. There's a few movies that you mentioned I need to watch. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
when you do, like, you want like write down a little mini review, and if we get back and do this again, you can tell me what you thought, and I'll do the same thing.
yeah, that's a good idea. Like I should, yeah, we should just do reviews on stuff too. Because like when it comes to comic books, like I like superheroes, but I'm not super knowledgeable about it. Like I'm not obsessed and stuff. I don't watch all the movies into it. I kind of like it, but yeah, I feel like I'm more into the sci-fi and horror stuff more.
Okay.
Um, More into like I like movies and stuff. Like I'm into that and video games and stuff. I don't know if you play any games or anything.
Not too much anymore, just because of time. Not, I don't have a
Yeah,
problem with it, but
it
you know,
is very time consuming.
I was a kid that got the first Nintendo for Christmas when I was like 9 or 10. So I'm classic. Like I'm not caught up with things today, but I do know what's around. But I'll gladly talk about those if you want to. So any of these ideas, think about it, and I'll come back anytime, and we can just talk about what's going on.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I hope you had fun, and talking, reminiscing, and like bringing up all the stuff that's out there and what we did younger stuff. Like these horror movies go back. That's why we review the old trailers, like the original Nightmare on Elm Street trailer, stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, like Joe Bob Briggs, he's definitely like one of my like heroes and stuff, you know. Um I like how he reviews the movies. I like how he's like southern and he's funny. Like I kind of want to I want to lean towards that sort of my
yeah.
channel. Something that would like be entertaining for people and they could like laugh.
Hey, well, take what we did tonight and use it as a starting point to where we can, bring all this stuff together and talk about what's new and like go watch some of these movies to come back and we'll review them together if you want and like break it down and like make fun of them or do what Joe Bob did. That like I missed. He came back, I believe, for a little bit. I
Yeah.
think I didn't get to catch it, but I'm glad he did. Um, I believe you said you're in Oklahoma, right?
Mhm.
There's a good friend who one of the podcasts I'm on is from Tulsa, and he's a Bigfooter.
Oh
So
really? Oh, he's into
and
Bigfoot.
well, he it's a hobby. Like that's not just what he does, but I hear a lot of stories from Southern Oklahoma from him. So when you had said that, I'm like, oh, and you live out in the woods, so you never know.
Oh, maybe I'll see a Bigfoot.
Well, if you ever want to talk about that, I can tell you the things to look for. Like tree breaks and howls and wood knocks, and you never know, like if it's quiet enough, what you might be hearing. And you might run across a footprint or here or there, but yeah, it's just another entertainment thing where it's not too serious. That show we talk everything from UFOs, ghosts. You know, I live in Louisiana. There's plantations, and I've seen some crazy stuff.
I'm gonna
But
say like you're around voodoo and stuff. Does it have an eerie feel there? Like, do you feel like ever uneasy?
well, I tell you what. There's a famous plantation here called the Myrtles, and uh, me and my now wife, we weren't married yet. We went there, spent the night, and in the middle of the night, I went out to have a cigarette, and it's pitch black. You can't see anything. And I saw something, and I went and told my wife. I said, "You might think I'm crazy, but it looked like two young girls in white dresses dancing." And she's like, "Oh, that's crazy." Well, fast forward to a year later, and we're watching the History Channel, and they brought up the Myrtle's plantation. And my wife can tell you, we've never seen the show. And the woman on the show goes, "Yeah, some people see two little girls dancing at night."
Oh,
And
that's spooky,
we
dude.
both turned white and went, "Oh," because there's no way I could have known that. I got chills just now because I saw it, and I didn't think anything of it, but it's like, oh, they hit the nail on the head. So that's some of the spooky stuff. If you ever want to talk about like ghosts, and,
Yeah,
there's a
I have a
million ideas.
video on my channel where, like, have you ever heard of the old hag syndrome?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I was on a ghost show a few years ago because of this experience that I had with this. Like, okay, I didn't know anything about that theory or whatever, the old hag syndrome, but I woke up to an old looking, I don't know, woman or whatever they were choking me, and I was like, "What in the world was that?" And I didn't get over it for years. It was something like it. I wasn't asleep though; I was awake, and a lot of people be like, "You were asleep" or whatever. I was like sitting in bed. It was still in the bed with me for like at least a minute or something. So I didn't get over it. And my sister told me that's called old hag syndrome. That happens to people. I was like, what? And
Oh,
I looked into it, and it's happened to a lot of people. They see this creepy old witch looking thing choking them, and it freaked me out. That kind of is the thing that gives me chills. I'm like, ugh. Like when I see old witches on movies, I get upset. I'm like, oh, dude, I had a bad experience. Like that's one of the things that's like the creepiest to me.
did you happen to have sleep paralysis where you're awake but you can't move?
I've had that before too.
Yeah,
Like I haven't had that for years, but I used to get that when I was younger. Like where you're just like, you can't move and you feel like there's something evil around you.
yeah.
And
You ever
sometimes you'll
heard
see
of?
like a shadow dude sitting by your feet or, like stuff like that. Like,
Oh, that's crazy. I was literally going to ask you, have you ever heard of shadow people?
yeah, I've seen those.
Me too. Like
Those are creepy.
unexplainable and undeniable to where like some things you could go, yeah, maybe my mind's playing a trick on me, but for me it was like two shadow people the size of my kids. I thought were my kids. Nobody was there, and I'm like, oh, great. So
It's
I've
like,
worked it. Go ahead.
I got some demons in my house. So awesome.
Yeah, I've worked in haunted movie theaters to tell you stories from there, but just another topic if you ever want to get into. Right, the whole list of ideas.
Well,
They call them
there's shadow people choking people here in the Oklahoma jail. Like
really.
there's stories that were coming out. Yeah, like people here in the Oklahoma City County Jail, they were getting choked by shadows. It's like a big deal and stuff. Like that's creepy. Imagine getting
Well,
choked by a shadow.
the fact that it's not just like, oh, I saw something. It's like, oh, it's physically interacting with me.
Yeah,
That
that's
brings it to a different level.
and people get marks and stuff too from things. And people be like, "Oh, you're lying. It's in your head." And it's like, why do they have these crazy claw marks and like their neck has marks? Like I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, but I think that stuff is like demonic. I do think that stuff's real. Like, because my parents, what like they did when I was growing up, like I believe in it. I think
yeah.
that there's evil spirits out there, and they can't
Well,
physically hurt us.
I believe that, and I believe there has to be good too, good spirits.
I think
Like,
there's good, but I just think sometimes our guard is down or something, and that stuff can mess with
yeah,
us.
yeah, good spirits are not going to be the ones messing with you. So, yeah,
No,
there's a lot of bad stuff that can, but then you got to get into, well, what is it? What is a ghost? What are we dealing with? But we can save that for another time. But I hope this gives you a lot of ideas so you can branch off and like I can, show you what the horror community, what we're all doing over there. Even I say they call it a Fortean topic, where it's or cryptid zoology. It's not just Bigfoot, but aliens and you know ghosts and so take any of that and
yeah,
anything you want to do.
we could I don't know, maybe like next Saturday if you have time we could try to do like come up with something else. Do like an Art Bell type of show or something. talk about spooky coincidences or something.
Yeah, I'm a Coast to Coast fan. Yeah, I used to
Yeah,
listen to
do you
that.
like George Norrie or do you like Art Bell?
Um,
I feel like Art
I
Bell
don't.
was more interesting, in my opinion.
He made it a little more interesting, where the way he talked to people. George was a little flat, just basic, and Art Bell kind of got into it and made it exciting, like from the high desert, and got you, into the whole thing. But
What about John B. Wells? You like him? He took
he's
over for a while.
okay.
He wasn't
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, I feel like Art Bell was the best. So, but he
Wow.
retired and he passed away. Have you
Yeah.
seen that YouTuber that was saying he was claiming he was talking to Art Bell and stuff like that? Was clickbait. That was kind of messed up. I don't like when
Mm,
YouTubers do that either. They're like, we're talking to this dead person. I like
oh, like
people are gonna do that with Kobe Bryant. It's rude. I don't like it.
yeah, they had a kid try and pull a J Station and talk to him. Well, they're the people who make the spirit boxes, and
Yeah,
you put your.
those.
Oh my God. Well, that's like you said, that's clickbait, and that's something we pride on not doing. Like, we're not going to clickbait people. We're not going to try and trick people or lie. I might only have, right now, I have like 55 subscribers, but I'm happy with that because nobody's trying to kill me, sending me death threats, or, like, uh, so we're trying to be straight with people. And so that's what I was hoping to get to you. Like, there's a world out there we can talk about a million things if you. So, yeah, next Saturday, I'd be happy to do it, and we can throw some ideas around till we get up to there.
Okay. Oh yeah, how did your podcast go? You said you're doing a podcast today.
Oh, that was fine. They had kind of an anniversary for in 2008. There was a giant Bigfoot hoax, and it got as far as it was on CNN and stuff. They put a fake body in a freezer. They put a suit and basically like animal guts in it and froze it in a block of ice, and they
Mm.
tricked everybody, made like 50 grand off of it. So we were talking about the anniversary of that and how far it can go. Like, you'd be surprised. So it did good. Thank you for asking.
Oh, that's good. Uh, reminds me. Did you ever see that mockumentary about the mermaids?
Yes, yes, I did.
People
That,
like
that was,
really believe that too. Like the Kardashians were like, mermaids are real. We saw the documentary and stuff like that was
mm,
pretty funny.
that's technically a cryptid, and it comes up like people really believe it and like swear by it. So you never know. There's a lot of ands if or buts, but like we we tend to go like start with Bigfoot because there's a lot of credible people out there who swear by it, and it's a big story. But that's something else if you ever want to talk about.
Oh,
It'd be fun to
there's
get to.
some woman. There's a YouTuber that says she claims that she talks to Bigfoot, and she said my whole family were native, so we talk to them. And she said there was one over here the other night asking for garlic and stuff to keep the bugs off him. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like she just said she like hangs out with them all the time or something.
I think I
She's
know who
like,
you're
yeah, they.
talking about.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about? Like it's
I
like Harry and
think
the
so.
Hendersons.
Yeah, you gotta watch out. Well, the thing with
I
that
mean,
is, there's since there's no proven Bigfoot, people can ride off the name as much as they want. Like, you can say
yeah.
whatever you want because it's almost like religion, where it's like, okay, well, you prove me wrong, and it's like, okay, but yeah, there's doctors and lawyers and policemen who have had sightings where there's no reason for them to lie. So it gets interesting. But there was a case of a woman here in Louisiana who said, "Oh, I gave them tomatoes out my back porch." So you get that.
Yeah, it's like okay. It's kind
Yeah,
of, I mean, it's funny, it's like entertaining, but it's like okay.
yeah,
But
but
I don't know. I feel like Bigfoot, he's not gonna be real friendly. Like I like Harry and the Hendersons. Like he was nice, but I think I wouldn't like a real Bigfoot. I think it would tear me
uh,
apart.
there's accounts both ways where some have had like a bad experience, but there's many stories where they were friendly enough where There's a famous one where a guy in a canoe, his canoe tipped over and he hit his head on a rock, and he woke up to one saving his life. So,
Wow, that's kind of cool.
well, if they are what we think they are, and they're like the missing link in evolutionish type thing, and many people say they look human, just hairy. Like there's no reason they wouldn't be compassionate and violent.
Well, what do
But
you think about giants and stuff? There are people who have seen those giants up in the caves and stuff.
yeah, we there are reports of like Bigfoot or type where 12 to 20 feet tall, and we just talk about the reports and evaluate what's out there, and we come to all it
Yeah.
really takes is one to be true. But there's hairs have been collected that DNA tests have come out, and it's an unknown human like primate hair.
Oh, it's
So
got like DNA. Like, is it DNA like human and ape, or is it just?
it would fit right in that to where the cross between like a chimp and us, like so it would be an upright walking hominid, as they say. And every continent has a Bigfoot. Every Indian or Native American tribe in the United States has a different name for them,
Is the
and
Yeti the Bigfoot?
it would be a cousin,
Oh,
a bomb, like it would be just one that lives in that area. But yeah, the Native Americans all have a different name for Bigfoot, and they don't speak the same languages. So those are the type of things we look at, like, well,
so yeah,
there might be something there because once again, they have no reason to lie. They're not trying to make money off of it. So
yeah. It's just stuff they've seen, and so it's like part of their, history. Like
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that I think is really interesting. Is
it's on
like
they have the faces on their totem poles usually always have a bird and a fish and a hairy man.
a lot of
So
Native Americans talk about like these creepy like portals and stuff too, where weird things come out. Like there's a lot of that too.
there are many stories of them being interdimensional where they'll say, yeah, the Bigfoot was walking and it just disappeared into a portal. So,
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Like those, that's kind of freaky.
yeah, some say they turn into orbs of light, and they'll just disappear. Some say they're plant people, like they'll turn into a tree. Like there's millions of stories, but we what we do is evaluate and just like we look at the cases and look at what people are saying, and there's literally like I think there was 10,000 reports in the last like 5 years in just the United States.
Wow.
So all it takes is one to be right, to be real. So, but we don't just believe it offhand. Like we're not
Yeah.
just it's real, but it's good to get the stories out. Do you know have you ever heard of what a thunderbird is?
Yeah, that's like a pterodactyl or
No. There are reports of pterodactyls, unfortunately, but a thunderbird also comes from a Native American lore. Like it's just a gigantic bird, like of different sizes. I believe it was in 1972. There's a report of one that looked like a giant condor or eagle picked up a small child.
mm-hmm.
But I can tell you personally, I saw a bird that stood over 7 feet tall. That's not
Really?
normal. Yeah,
Where'd
that's
you see that?
uh, in a in a city called Amite, Louisiana. We were in the middle of the woods, and I was with three other people, and this bird just stood up, and it was literally like we could throw something at it, and it looked like kind of like a flamingo, like what a flamingo looks like. We have egrets down here, if you know what an egret is,
Mm-hmm.
and just picture one 7 feet tall. So we call it a thunderbird, but it's like
That's
that's not
scary.
natural.
That's kind
You
of
know,
freaky.
it's not a dinosaur. It's not, but
Well, I
there
always
are.
thought the Thunderbird. I always thought that was like a pterodactyl or something because, like in Africa, like they have sightings of like
Yeah,
pterodactyls like today. They said
Yep.
that they don't go by certain ponds and rivers because they said it will snatch your kids. Watch out
Yeah.
for it. Like there's even sightings of dinosaurs and stuff.
I was about to say, it's called one of them's Makila
Machilia
Bembe.
Bembe, yeah.
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 Ah, see, you're on the
Yeah.
same page where, like, the tribes. That's the thing. These are tribes that aren't even up to the culture we're in. Would have no reason to even tell us these things, but they swear by it.
Yeah.
But
They see those in
yeah,
Africa too, like those Machilia Bambes. Though I'm not sure what dinosaur is that, like, because it's a certain type of
like a
dinosaur,
Bronchiosaurus, I
yeah,
believe.
bronchi or something
Yeah.
that's like that type. Yeah, it basically looks like a bronchi. But yeah, they call them Machilia Bambe. Um,
There, there's a cool map. And I put it on my Instagram. You see it all the time. And it's a picture of the United States, and it shows you that almost every state has its own creature. And I say creature because some are giant birds, some are lizard men, some are dog men, some are Bigfoots,
mhm.
some are lake monsters. So it's cool little stories. Oklahoma, it's mostly just a Bigfoot and just different names, and you know.
Well, and and there's a lot of like ancient paintings of people with dinosaurs and stuff. It's like,
Hmm.
well, how would they even know what they look like if they've been dead for millions of years? How would these people
Yeah.
know? They do paintings and they do patterns of like their skin texture, and it looks exactly like what these dinosaurs would have looked like. It's almost like they were alive at the same time, you know.
Yeah,
People were fighting dinosaurs, like dinosaurs their height, in the
there's
art.
cave paintings of what looks like a Bigfoot, and they call it the Hairy Man. It's like 10,000 years old.
Hmm.
So, hey, you gotta evaluate everything and just, but it's fun to also think of the lore. Like this year, Halloween falls on a Saturday, and one of our most famous local stories is the Hangman's Tree. It's somebody hung a slave on an oak tree, and the tree grew around it. And when the moon is full and hits the tree, you can see the outline of a person. And we're gonna go investigate it this year. So that's that's gonna be a fun trip. That's
Oh
the kind of
yeah.
stuff we're
Are
doing.
you're gonna film it for your
Yeah,
channel?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna live do it live.
So you're in the okay, Bill O'Reilly. You're in the spooky town. You need to be filming all the spooky stuff you can.
Yeah, like the problem is getting to some of these places. Like
Yeah.
I'm really close to the city, and like there's not like plantations that close. There are some, but to get to those, but the Hangman's Tree thing is not that far. Like it's 20 minutes from where I am. But yeah, you'll see, like if you see my channel, like it's gonna come up as we get closer. But um, other than that, we have the Honey Island Swamp Monster, and that's a Bigfoot type creature, which they actually have that. And in our zoo, there's a statue of that and statue of the Rougarou, if you ever heard of that.
Mm.
That's that's the Cajun werewolf. It's a story where it's a werewolf story about from out in the swamps where you get bit, you turn into a werewolf for 100 days.
Yeah. What? Oh, Mothman. That's another like creepy one. The giant bug. People. People.
Point Pleasant.
Yeah. People said that thing was like around that bridge before it collapsed.
The
Some
Silver
people said,
Bridge.
yeah, some people said it was a warning. Some people said he's the reason why it happened. There's different theories
Yeah.
about that. But
Some
that was,
say it's just a big owl, so you never know. But it's an interesting story that it was seen around the Silver Bridge in 1969.
well, there's a
And
lot of people that said it caused car wrecks and stuff too.
hmm oh,
Attack them.
people have seen it. Like some say they saw it by the World Trade Center before it fell, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's an
Or
interesting story. I've always wanted to go there and check it
I
out.
think Jeepers Creepers, that creature is loosely based on the Mothman.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he
got the
just
wings.
fly, yeah. So he's kind of based on it. I didn't really like. Did you ever see that Mothman movie, Mothman
Oh,
Prophecies?
that was dumb, and it's So not
It
really
was.
based on the lore.
I thought. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't like that, and I think that the Mothman, if like it's real, it's probably really evil. And he was like helping people out and stuff and that, and I was like, whatever. It's like he's like telling people the bridge is gonna fall. Like dude, he's
Yeah,
evil. Like don't listen to him. Like he's the reason why the bridge fell. Like
yeah, seen around disasters and like yeah, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Like that's where small town where they have a statue of it up, and everybody's like I said, everybody's got their local stories. I'll actually dig a little deeper and talk to that guy about stuff in Oklahoma and see what I can tell you next time we talk because there's always something like, but he's in the very lowest part of Oklahoma, like very
yeah.
south.
Well, here in
So,
Oklahoma, our creature that we have a lake called Lake Thunderbird, and
uh,
there apparently some kind of creature that's been drowning people. They say it's like
really?
a giant. It's a thing with tentacles. So we have some kind of swampy octopus creature. I don't know what it is, but it's been drowning people, and a lot of people have seen it, and it's I don't know. It's pretty creepy.
Is
the
that near you or just that's in the state?
That's in the state. I'm not exactly. I've never been to Lake Thunderbird. I live out in the country. It's probably not even that far. But yeah, like that's supposed to be. That's a lake that a lot of people drowned in. But I think a lot of the drownings happen because people are partying and they're getting drunk. It's a deep
Right.
lake. I think that might have something to do with it. But they do say there's like a giant octopus that's like eating people.
Yeah. Hey, you never know what the story is going to say or what's the truth. Like there could be something that happened and then the story gets embellished over time and turns into a dinosaur or such. But
Well, there's
sometimes it's
like
simple.
there is like colossal ass like freaking octopuses and squids and stuff. Like they said that like some were taking down ships and stuff. There's all kinds of tales about that. Like
Well, yeah, the giant squid is in the cryptozoology thing, but giant squids have washed up on shore that were 60 feet long. Now, that
yeah,
wouldn't take down a ship, but what if that's the baby compared to what the mama might be? So,
yeah, we don't even know. Like, but the ocean's kind of destroyed from the Fukushima, all that. Like we're destroying the ocean, so all the things that die first are the biggest ones. They can't take it, you know. So they're
yeah.
washing up. I don't know. Maybe there's stuff bigger though. I mean, the oceans. I think it's more mysterious than space, is what they say.
Yeah, we know more about the moon than we do about our oceans because it's just too hard to get down there, and stay down there.
It's dangerous
So,
too. Like people die and stuff trying to do it. Like like scuba divers die a lot. Like I mean, it's just they can't breathe down there. You know that
hey,
like
come
I would say like down in the ocean, like the time is different. Did you know that? Like the lower you go, it's like off by like several minutes or
no,
something. Well, I heard that
really.
it's off by several minutes, so they use those frequencies and they put those in towers. And it's like that's just like kind of a theory, but like they say that like they put that frequency that's in the ocean in towers and it can control the time in certain places. Like I thought that was kind of cool, kind of creepy actually.
I'm gonna look into that and see what comes up because that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah,
Always something. You never know until you look.
yeah. I don't want to keep you all night. You look tired.
No. Oh no. I I'm enjoying it, but no, we can wrap it up. But I definitely would like to do it again. Like throw out some of these ideas and we can do little shows so you can
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, well, let's like save all the stuff. I don't want to talk about
yeah
all the stuff yet because then yeah, we gotta have something for
no
next week for the show.
yeah
Um,
write down anything that comes to your mind and I'll talk about anything that is
okay.
entertaining.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna end the stream. Okay.
Okay.